Robert Canoy here from the law offices of McCormick & McCormick. One of the most frequently asked questions that we see on all attorneys' websites is the question or advice about, should you talk to the police or detective or investigator? So let's say that you are a military member and you get approached by a special agent from your respective service, be that CID if you're in the Army, NCIS if you're in the Navy or Marine Corps, CGIS if you're in the Coast Guard, OSI if you're in the Air Force. You get approached and the agent sits you down and they says, hey, you're suspected of these offenses, these violations of the UCMJ. You have the right to remain silent or ask for a lawyer if you want to, but you can also waive that and talk to us right now and give us your side of the story if you want to. What should you do? Now, if you Googled the answer to that, Googled the best advice, the Google AI software is going to tell you, nope, no, never talk to the police, never talk to the investigator, never talk to the detective. But what that and many other sources don't tell you is why not. So what I hope to do today is express to you the why not. First and foremost, the best answer why is because you don't control that interview or interrogation. The officer does, the investigator does, the special agent does. And despite what they may say, despite what their public-facing personas may say, they are not there to get to the truth. They are not there to prove your innocence or just fact find or any of those kind of party lines. What they're there to do, the hope of that interrogation for them, is that you will either make a confession to the crime that they suspect that you've committed, or that you will make admissions to facts or occurrences that are contrary to your interests that will help them prove the charges against you. That's it. Add on top of that the fact that the law allows the investigators a lot of latitude to do things that we would otherwise consider just candidly to be shady or to be underhanded. For example, the law said and courts have upheld the fact that the investigators can lie to you. They can tell you that someone has come forward as an eyewitness to the crime against you, even though that's not true. They can tell you in a sexual assault case that they have found your DNA on the alleged victim's body, even though that may not be true. They can tell you if it's a situation involving multiple suspected co-defendants, they can tell you that your buddy in the next room over has just implicated you and has just told the investigators that everything that happened was your fault, that you were the mastermind, that you made him do it, and he's putting all the blame on you. They can tell you any of those things and any other lie or deception that they can come up with, all in an effort to get you to make some sort of admissions that will help them prove the charges against you. That's a terrible disadvantage to be in when you're sitting in that interrogation room with the glass walls all around you with no help and nobody to protect your rights. The next thing that can occur is if you are trying to tell the truth, but you happen to provide facts that are maybe wrong or incorrect or disproven later, there's nothing to stop that from developing into additional charges against you. It's very common to see what are called false official statement charges added to a charge sheet based upon the accused person's interrogation with that particular case agent. Which means in practice, if you say something that they believe is a false statement, and if they think they can prove that you were trying to lie to them to help yourself, they'll charge you with an additional felony that sometimes has the potential to be worse and a more harsh offense than what you were being investigated for to begin with. So that's another significant reason not to do it. And probably the biggest one, the biggest reason that is the general advice is that you need to understand how the process works in terms of when you get to trial. So let's say that you're completely innocent and you've sat down with the investigator and you've given your entire narrative and your story of innocence. Can you then use that in your own defense should you wind up at a jury trial or a court-martial member's trial, a contested trial of some sort? Can you use that? And the answer is no. That is one of the most prosecution-friendly rules of evidence that exists in our American legal system, but it is true and accurate. You cannot use pretrial statements made by the accused or the defendant as part of defense evidence at trial. The prosecution can introduce it against you if it's good for them, if it's an admission, if it's a confession. But if it's a story of innocence, they're able to simply discard it and act like it never existed, and it's inadmissible at trial for you to use in your own defense. So essentially the conclusion that you should arrive at is that it really does me no good to speak to the investigators. Add on to that the fact that it really doesn't matter whether the individual case agent or investigator believes you or not. Many people are disappointed when they see an NCIS, a CID, or an OSI case report, a report of investigation, and there's no opinion by the investigator or conclusion by the investigator as to whether the person did this or not. There's not an opinion about probable cause, there's not an opinion as to guilt or innocence, there's nothing. And you add to that the fact that no military investigator now in 2025, by policy, has the ability to shut down or cancel or conclude an investigation because they don't think there's sufficient evidence. There's really nothing good you can get out of it. Some civilian jurisdictions, perhaps a detective would have the authority to say, I've talked to the accused person, I believe him, we're going to go ahead and dismiss this matter and close the investigation. No military investigator by policy has the authority to do that. So again, all the reasons of why you should not ever speak to an investigator if you're under suspicion of committing a crime in the military, all of them add up to the conclusion that you should not do it. It is not in your interest. You should consult an attorney immediately, understand what your rights are, and have that person then take the lead on all comms and communications with an investigator. So I hope this helps you understand what the pitfalls are of talking with an investigator and why you should not do it, and rather you should contact an attorney. Again, we do free consultations if you find yourself in this situation, regardless of where you are in the case. If you suspect you might be later, if you have a current case pending, call us, go to our website. We do free consultations, and we'll see if representation by McCormick & McCormick is the right fit for you. Thanks.